Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Political Excess. Well, we're still waiting for all the final results from the midterms to come in, and I do agree it's taking way too long. I would love to know the results pretty much on election day like we used to. But anyway, for today, let's take a look at the upcoming governor's elections, which will be happening next year. There's only three of them: Kentucky, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So let's glance over these one by one. Let's start in Kentucky. The incumbent governor there is Democrat Andy Beshear, and back in 2019, Beshear defeated incumbent Republican Matt Bevin by under a half a point. He got 49.2% of the vote. Although Kentucky is definitely a red state, Beshear is the son of a former governor of Kentucky. Beshear is regarded as a very conservative, moderate Democrat, similar to how Laura Kelly is in Kansas, and this is a seat Republicans are really going to want to pick up, given the lean of the state and given some of the recent losses they've been taking. So if we get on Wikipedia, we can see here, Beshear might have a primary opponent here, but this is only going to be token opposition. If we go down to the Republican candidates, there's already 6 that have declared their candidacy. So there's a lot that want this seat, and some of them are higher profile nominees than others. Probably the highest profile is Daniel Cameron, who is the Attorney General of Kentucky. You can see him here, as well as some of the other candidates that have declared. Even former Governor Bevin is listed as a potential candidate. I don't think he would jump into this race. If he did, he would probably end up losing. And we've already got a few endorsements here. Daniel Cameron does have the Donald Trump endorsement. At this point, I'm really not sure how much that is going to help or hurt him in a state like Kentucky. And we've got one primary poll here from back in June. It shows Daniel Cameron with 46% of the vote. 22% undecided, but that's a huge margin for Daniel Cameron. It's way too early for general election polling, but I think this is going to be a close race. This is similar to races like we just had in Wisconsin and Kansas, where Democrats were able to hold on and win re-election. So as of right now, my personal opinion is Beshear would be slightly favored to win, but it's just so far off, plenty could happen. Let's go on to the next state, and that is Mississippi. And that has incumbent Republican Tate Reeves, who has not yet formally declared his candidacy for re-election. I would assume he would run for re-election, but you never know. He hasn't done it yet. But in 2019, when he first won election, he won with almost 52% of the vote, and that was good enough for a 5-point margin of victory. We get back over to Wikipedia, we can take a look at the potential candidates here, and one of them has publicly expressed interest. It's the Speaker of the Mississippi House of Representatives. I'm not really too familiar with him or most of these candidates, but there's a big list of potentials here that could jump into the race, including Tate Reeves. On the Democratic side, there's only one potential candidate listed here, and there's also some independents. I think the Democratic bench is pretty thin in Mississippi, and whoever the Republican nominee is, I think they would start out as likely favorites to win election or re-election if it's Tate Reeves. And finally, the last state is Louisiana, and this will be an open seat as incumbent Democrat John Bel Edwards, he is term limited out. In 2019, he won re-election with a little over 51% of the vote, and that was almost a 3.5-point margin of victory for him. Now back on Wikipedia, we have to remember that Louisiana does use the jungle primary system, so all of the candidates will be on one ballot, and if no one gets majority of the vote, then there will be a later runoff. Now Louisiana is typically regarded as a red state, so Republicans want to get this one back in their column, similar to Kentucky, and obviously Democrats would love to win this as well. We can see their list of potential candidates here. And there's a couple notable names in here. I would guess Mitch Landrieu is the most notable high-profile candidate that would have the best chance to win a general election. So if he jumps into it, he might end up being the favorite, but it's very early. Anything could happen. And on the Republican side, we've already got 2 candidates that have declared. Jeff Landry, the Attorney General of Louisiana, and we also have Billy Nungesser, who is the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana. There's also an announcement pending here, and there's a whole slew of other candidates that have expressed interest or are listed here as potential candidates. There's a whole bunch of U.S. and state representatives here. U.S. Senator John Kennedy is listed, but he just won re-election. I don't think he would step down just to run for governor. And if we go down here to the hypothetical polling, this is really outdated at this point. From back in March, it shows John Kennedy with a lead at 22% of the vote. I'd say at this point this poll is essentially useless. And we've got Jeff Landry here with a few endorsements already lined up. And then here's a runoff poll between a generic Democrat and Republican. Republicans are at 50%, 33% for the Democrats. My view on this is it's going to depend on the national environment and the candidates, of course. but I would still say Republicans would start off as the favorites, at least with a lean type of margin. Given Louisiana is a red state, they tried out a Democratic governor for a couple of years, as some states do, but then once the seat opens up, they usually tend to revert back to their typical partisan lean, and I would expect Republicans to win this seat. Back in 2011, when Republicans last won, Bobby Jindal, he got almost 66% of the vote. So it will be a competitive seat. There'll be a battle, but I would guess Republicans should be able to win this, but you never know what can happen. So that's it for the governor's races coming up next year. It's kind of an off-year election, but there's still a few races that we can take a look at. And I'm sure there'll also be a few special elections that come up, at least in the U.S. House. But anyway, that is a quick look into the upcoming governor's elections for next year, 2023. Let me know in the comments, which of these races are you most excited about? Which ones have the most potential to flip? Which candidates do you want to see jump into these races? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.